When my mind is fucking cloudy, cloudy. Need to focus on somebody. Yeah, Master P, yeah, she bout it, bout it. She understand the assignment.
Hey, I've been on reckless abandon, ain't got shit to lose. I've been lost inside a dream, I probably hit the snooze. I didn't ease that label, still I gotta keep it cool. Leaving text on red, make sure my pockets green and blue. Then I put green on their heads, I call them Beetlejuice. Seen them on the evening news, kill them when I needed room. You think she a type, she begging me to beat it loose. She's a red like Pikachu, every time I Pikachu. Shoot her up, guess I'm sliding. Left a nigga home, well phone, it's on silent. Shorty match my fly, in the clouds, we residing. Then I took her home, made her sing like a siren. She came straight out in erotic novel. She riding, she swallow you out of a bottle. She just wanna see me whining and grovel. She fly like a model, she bow, I say bravo, baby.
When my mind is fucking cloudy, cloudy. Need to focus on somebody. Yeah. Master P, yeah, she bout it, bout it. She understand the assignment. I told her we don't gotta label it anything, but I think you knew. If the sky above you was cloudy, then I would paint it blue. I know her ex-man tripping out like he ate the shrooms. I gave that man a memorial like from May to June. I get way too petty when I'm off the shit, so I hope these motherfuckers don't cross me again. The only L I see is in my love for revenge. Motherfucker student loan, debt and paying rent. I was on Santee Alley when the streaming check came in. Had to buy my baby Sapphire birthstone gems. In the Prius bumping Thames. I told her when I pop I'm really buying her a Benz. I know love don't cost a thing, but I want to spoil you rotten like I left out some old food. R.I.P. the OB, need a headstone. Blocking everybody else out like noise canceling headphones. When my mind is fucking cloudy, cloudy. Need to focus on somebody. Yeah, Master P, yeah, she bout it, bout it. She understand the assignment. Yeah.
Go, that bitch.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Advantage. I am your host, Michael Fiddle. Today is Wednesday, September 18th, and on today's podcast, we are checking in with the NFL's hottest storylines and biggest topics, awards, narratives that are starting to form, and see if we could start to direct them into a conversation about futures, odds, awards, and things like that. This conversation is going to be very similar to what we called the Fuck It Futures 2 weeks ago that I did with Gibby, where we use the odds to help direct the conversation. But ultimately, this is not a podcast where it's going to be about maximizing a bankroll and putting in the smartest of bets. I have been adamant on this show and throughout the work that I do that I enjoy talking about futures. I think they are a very fun way to bet. Of course, it's a ton of fun to have some of these tickets with your friends. But at the end of the day, these are not generally the things that maximize bankrolls. It's a very good conversation to have for two reasons. One, I know a lot of people still like to bet these awards. And two, we are going to do it in a way that makes the most sense and still acquires the most value. However, if you are in this to be cold-blooded and just grow your account balance in your sportsbook, then generally, I play day to day and just churn that bankroll over and over. Do I think these are plus EV tickets? Yes, as close to them as we can get. Are we betting into awards markets potentially with like a 15% hold, which is 3 times higher than a normal game odds? Yes. Does that mean that you have to be more right in your edge to make the same return? Yes. You are also waiting a few months for these to matriculate. And generally, when you make long investments, you wish you are paying less hold and not more hold. So in the sports betting world and sports gambling scene, that's a little bit backwards, but these are some of the most fun conversations to have. And in the NFL, storylines start to form and narratives start to form pretty early, and it's a quick season, and we talk about these things constantly, and some of these narratives specifically for awards and futures can lock in early where it's good to have a ticket. Now, you always have to beware of the dreadful injury bug that exists in the NFL, but getting ahead of some of these stories before they are cemented as like this is what this season was about is a good idea. So joining me and to bring you guys a bit behind the curtain on today's show, It's a first-time guest on the pod. His name is Richie Giner, and just like Austin Vernon, AV, just like Gibby Graves, who's always on the pod, my two most frequent guests, these are people in my life that I grew up with that are great friends of mine. Richie grew up 5 minutes away from my house, probably even less. You could drive from house to house where we grew up in one song. So that's how close that we lived. And Richie was the best football player in my grade. Gibby, I'm going to say the second best basketball player in my grade. And I see Richie laughing in the corner of the studio right now. Austin was the starting point guard for the varsity basketball team. So I was friends with all the athletes, but your boy Fids was phenomenal at arranging the pickup basketball. So that's why all these people love me. I love them because they are studs on and off the court. Hold a big place in my heart. And it is a great way to talk about breaking down these futures. And this man texted me 2 weeks ago when I said on the podcast doing a WNBA show that we're probably not going to talk too much NFL. And he was like, you need more NFL coverage on the pod. And my response was, so when are you coming on the show? Today's the day, Rich. Welcome on to The Advantage. Let's jump right into it because a 6-minute intro from me is what nobody wants to hear. What do you think is the biggest storyline, the hottest narrative forming in the NFL 2 weeks into the season?
First, I want to say thanks for the pitch. Your smooth braid degenerate friend Rich is going to come on the pod and give some takes. But I think the narrative so far, and it's still so early, has to be the Saints and what Clint Kubiak's been able to do with that Saints offense, utilizing the play action, misdirection running. Seems like a Kamara from a couple years ago at his elite level. Pains me to say as a Raider fan, hearing Derek Carr lighting it up with Raheed Shaheed and Chris Olave. That has to be the narrative. I think we'll get into it a little further, but I think that's going to end up hurting a lot of people in the future because I'm not sure this is going to be nearly sustainable going forward. But up to this point, the Saints, I think, have to be the narrative.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start. I'm going to pull up the screen and share the screen. When we do these live shows and I show the odds screen on the board, we always bring up the FanDuel odds screen because I think it presents the best in terms of like the user interface and clicking and highlighting what we're talking about and then having it show up in a bet slip and keep it summarized. But as we go through this discussion, if me and Richie do talk about something where there are better odds elsewhere, I will make sure to point it out. Rich, the first place, and you say it with the Saints, it's a new award that's never been a betting award previously. I think FanDuel right now is the only market that I've noticed that has it. But the Associated Press, the AP polls, always does the NFL awards. And they've been doing this award for the last 10 years. But now we can actually bet on it. And it's assistant coach of the year. It's like coordinator of the year is now a betting market in the NBA, in the NFL. I definitely wanted to avoid this in the fuck it futures conversation I did with Gibby a few weeks ago, because like which units become the storylines of the season, you never know. Those are impossible to predict. It would have been dumb to say last year was Ben Johnson and the Lions, so let's grab that now. You have to wait and see which offenses or defenses for specific teams as units end up just being dominant and breaking the narrative and being so much better than we thought they were. It has to be the Saints offense to start the year. Back-to-back 40-plus point games against terrible Carolina, and we went 1 week saying, well, maybe that's all bullshit. And then they do it in Dallas against the Cowboys, and defensive player of the year, odds-on favorite, Micah Parsons. So definitely, like, you see Derek Carr holding his nuts like he's Michael Jackson.
Oh, my God, makes you sick. But, yeah, unbelievable.
And, every time Raheed Shaheed hits a deep ball, I text our boy Zach Fried and say, Raheed Shafreed. And I think that's the best pun in the joke that only me and you will understand. But the Saints team, very exciting. And give me the pitch of why you don't think it's going to continue. Because I agree. I heard you just say, I don't really think it's going to come back to burn people is what I think you said. Well, I kind of agree, but let's hear why you say that before me.
I'm not saying the Saints are a bad team. I'm saying I don't think it's sustainable if you pull up the odds, plus 350. No other team within 2 weeks, they played an atrocious, maybe one of the worst Carolina Panther teams. One of the worst teams I've seen since that defeated Colts team that didn't win a game, and an extremely inconsistent Cowboys team. So I think it's too small of a sample size for plus 350, which is aggressive odds, give me minus 400 field over that. So I just think that's a little too aggressive. There is one that did catch my eye, Flores. A lot of these awards go off of narrative, and I love the narrative behind Flores. Beginning of the year, Tua was bashing him, saying how terrible of a coach he was, how no one liked him. Xavier Howard chimed in at plus 1,600, and Flores acknowledged it. He said, "You know what? I wasn't a good guy. I was a bad guy." And I think if this Vikings defense, which seems extremely stout and strong, keep this up through a longer period of time, the narrative could change to, hey, I've changed the ways I've worked. I've gotten players to buy in. And yeah, that's how I've been able to create this successful defense and create a narrative around the award. What are your thoughts?
It was the first place that I looked when I saw these awards too. I wanted to fade the Saints because it has been 2 games of the season. It has been the Carolina Panthers. And although we say Dallas Cowboys at home, the Sharps were all over the preseason market fading the Cowboys. Like, I have an Eagles division win ticket in. I was considering Cowboys alternate unders before the season started. So like, there was sentiment to fade this Cowboys team, and because they sold out on a linebacking core and they sold out on some of the like lesser premium positions in the NFL. Cowboys said, we have to pay so much to a quarterback, a wide receiver, and a D end right now. We can't pay a running back. We can't pay a linebacker. So a team like the Saints that you see has multiple tight ends that they use and some deep shot weapons, they're able to line up some of those tight ends to take on some of a weak Cowboys linebackers and beat that scheme. And of course, you get Olave, Kamara, a deep shot, and Shafreed. These are all very reliable, like week-to-week players. So it wasn't overly surprising to me that the Saints did well, but I wouldn't be sold on it yet. Derek Carr has historically really struggled against blitz pressure and teams that bring a lot of heat. And now he's got the Eagles coming into next week on a primetime game. So I would just say, let's wait one more week before we buy in to Kubiak Saints. Let's wait a few more weeks before we buy into Kubiak Saints at all. And Flores was the same exact direction. When we were texting about this last night, Rich, you said to me, and I can pull up the text, but no one cares. You said to me, there's one that catches my eye instantly. I sent you back the eyes emoji and said Flores 16-1. And you said, yes. Now it's down to 11-1. So what we were looking at was certainly correct and a little bit mispriced yesterday. What concerns me about Flores is that preseason story, because just like NBA Coach of the Year, I came on this show, probably 12 months ago now and was like, I love Ime Udoka as a coach. We can't bet on Ime Udoka to win an award because of what's happened off the field and how disgusting it is. Like, apparently Ime, and we don't really know. And so this is alleged and what I've heard through the grapevine and read on Reddit and tried to find out what I could, but I don't know at all if this is true. Apparently Ime was like sleeping with the wife of one of the other Celtics, like C-suite managers, and was caught on the Ring camera going to her place at like 2 a.m. when the husband was away. And the husband gets an alert that something's at the front door, and he checks the Ring camera and it's Ime Udoka and his wife.
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. So
That's a tough one.
I was a little scared of betting Ime Udoka, going, the league's not giving him a fucking award. The Celtics just ousted him off the team. And like the Rockets, like we thought maybe he would spend a year kind of in hiding, but the Rockets picked him up. I don't know how similar the Flores situation is, right? Like the Flores, like he might have talked shit about a player. It doesn't seem to have the same gravitas of like, that's a gross storyline that you can't give an award to, right? It's not close to as bad of drama.
Yeah. But I think an important thing is he acknowledged he wasn't a good person. And he acknowledged that he made mistakes in the past. And like the narrative of, hey, I'm going to shift that and, maybe coach in a different way could actually work to his benefit. I will say it doesn't help that he sued the NFL. That could kind of hurt
exactly. A few years ago too. Yeah, he was the coach that for racial discrimination between head coaches.
Yeah. But I do kind of like the narrative. And I mean, I don't know if you saw Brock Purdy at the end of that game between the Vikings. He's like, I don't know what the hell schemes you were running, but he's pretty much saying seeing ghosts out there with Flores' defensive schemes. So I love that Vikings defense. Can't say the same about the offense, but yeah.
And who the Vikings have this week? They have another tough one. They have the Texans. So this is one where if Flores and the Vikings hold stout against the Texans, you might see Flores equivalent.
Ranking, yeah.
You might see him damn near equal with Kubiak and the Saints, right? So, like, I don't want to buy into the Saints now because when I look at this market, I'm like, why pick off the leader already? But if I could pick off someone north of 10-1, the fourth coach down the candidate, now I'm saying, okay, I might gain a lot of value in the next week or two by attacking someone lower on the list right now. And then beyond that, right? Bobby Slowick and Ben Johnson were the stories of the season last year for coordinators, right? The Texans offense was a surprise. The Lions offense, was was playing into risk, was converting on all their fourth downs, was super exciting, was scoring a ton of points, getting deep in the playoffs. I looked through the rest of the list and, like, as of now, like, I don't see a world where Spagnuolo wins it on the Chiefs. They just came off the Super Bowl where the Chiefs defense was the star of their unit. I don't think it's going to be Joe Brady and the Bills. I definitely don't think it's going to be Kellen Moore or Greg Roman. We have Kellen Moore getting blasted in the media this week for that play call on 3rd and 4 or whatever. We have Greg Roman, who the last few years he's been getting shit on in Baltimore because he wouldn't spread the offense enough. Now we're going to go praise him for running the ball like crazy with the Chargers. You can't work both ways where you, like, say bad things about the guy, and just because the situation changes a little bit, you start saying good things. That's not an award winner that's going to break away and have us all praising him. There are still going to be people anti-Greg Roman. But you look at what Flores and Kubiak are doing, and it's eye-opening.
Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts on Petzing?
I just don't trust the Cardinals. Like, Kyler gets injured at the end of the year every year, right? And Marvin's a rookie. And James Conner is incredibly durable, but is starting to get up to that mix in. Is he aging to that age cliff tier for running back? So I just don't want to buy into the Cardinals for fear of, like, I don't know if that team stays healthy.
Fair enough.
Whereas the Vikings defense, like, they're going to bring heat no matter who's back there.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, let's go on to the next topic, Rich, which is going to be teams that remain undefeated, because we're talking Saints. So let's keep this rolling into the other 2-0 teams. And FanDuel has a market for. By the way, those were the best odds for assistant coach of the year, because no other book has that. There might be others for remaining undefeated team, as I try and find it right now, and season win specials or whatever. Win specials, there it is. But there's a host of 2-0 teams, and they're pretty different than what we'd expect going into the season. But now we're down to the Kansas City Chiefs, the Houston Texans, the Buffalo Bills, Chargers, Vikings, Steelers, Bucks, Seahawks, and Saints. There are 9 teams that remain undefeated. The team that everybody loves in the market, Rich, is dead last in odds to remain undefeated. So isn't that a little bit of an oxymoron that would tell you don't go pick up? Like, if you believed in Kubiak, Rich, why wouldn't you go play 16-1 on undefeated as opposed to 3.4-1? Like, if this continues and they keep winning, then take the better long shot that's more than 4x the payout.
Absolutely agree. Yeah. Okay. There's a reason the Saints are that
dead last. And of course, it's because they play the Eagles this week. But the Saints are what, 3-point favorites in that game right now. They look ahead line was Eagles -3. That last drive literally was a 6-point swing in the game. Like, I think, and how well the Saints have played, but I'm pretty sure if the Eagles and Saquon caught that ball, we'd still be looking at Eagles -1.
You would wait to love if he caught that ball, Phil.
I fucking would. I said Darnell mooned me, for anyone who doesn't give a shit about what happened on my fantasy team. But Darnell mooned the fuck out of me on that last drive. If Saquon caught the ball, your boys' team's 2-0. Instead, we're not. We're 1-1. All right. Are there any of these teams that stand out to you, Rich, as like, I'd like to grab this team to remain undefeated, or are you skipping it?
I'm going to skip it. I'm going to skip it, but I mean, I do have an opinion. I think just looking at schedules, the Chiefs probably have the easiest road to an undefeated schedule. If I had a number 2, I mean, it would be the Texans. I think the Texans are a better team than the Bills as well. But I don't think there's anything that jumps out on the page, and particularly like a schedule
way that would give me like any aggressive odds for like the Steelers or the Vikings or anything like that.
Right. The reason why I think it's so interesting is because, like, look at this. The Houston Texans and the Vikings play this week, right? So one of those is instantly gone.
Yep.
The Steelers play the Chargers this week. So one of those is instantly gone. The New Orleans Saints have the Eagles, which is really hard. The Tampa Bay Bucks have the Broncos, which is really easy. And so do the Seahawks. Seahawks have the Dolphins with Skylar Thompson. So I was definitely zoned in on Kansas City Chiefs here at 2-1 because they're away at the Falcons this week. They're 3.5-point favorites. Again, that last Falcons drive changed this from a 5.5 to a 3.5. There has been some sharp action on the Falcons. I'm on the Chiefs -3 from a preseason look-ahead bet I placed on June 18th. Drop that in the WAP in case anyone wants to follow along. But I really like having a Chiefs -3. I am noticing if there's Falcons steam in a game-to-game market coming back because of their comeback, their last drive on that Monday Night Football. Do I want to look towards a Seahawks playing against Skylar Thompson? Do I want to look at Tampa Bay going against Bo Nix in his third career start? Like, those I think are interesting because of how many of these are just going to be neutralized by them playing each other.
Yeah, that's fair. Chiefs would be the only one for me, I'd say.
Okay. Tomorrow night we get Thursday Night Football. We get Jets at Patriots. We are just coming off of, and I keep talking about it, Kirk Cousins leading that game-winning drive against the Eagles. And Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers have been the storylines of NFL comebacks this season, both returning from an Achilles injury. Rodgers on his non-throwing foot, Kirk Cousins off of his plant foot. That's been a big part of the storyline that's emerged over the first 2 weeks in watching them perform out there. Of course, Rodgers' injury happened like 7 or 8 weeks before Kirk Cousins as well. So you get that added 2 months of healing benefit. And you look at them, and they've really been the odds-on favorites for comeback player of the year, Rich. Do you think it is time to just pick off one of them? Oh, my God. J.K. Dobbins has skyrocketed up the odds. I did not expect to see this name to show up here. Rodgers, it will open the season at 220. It's 185 now. Joe Burrow and Kirk Cousins were hanging in like the 250 to 300 range. It seems Rodgers taken steam, Dobbins has taken steam, and the other two quarterbacks have gone the other way. Wow, I did not expect to see this Dobbins thing. Talk to me.
So I was going to come in here and say how high I was on J.K. Dobbins. I actually bet it.
Yeah, I'm shocked it's 6-1.
Coming off 3 straight years of significant knee injuries for a running back that relies on fast twitch and power and he comes in and, say he runs for 1,100, 1,200 yards, 8-9 touchdowns.
Yeah.
An extremely enticing storyline. Especially, I don't know if you heard the interview of Aaron Rodgers on Pat McAfee, but he was talking about his rehab process and
how he was in the Achilles factory with J.K. Dobbins, who
and he's like
him all off season.
Exactly, and the only reason he got through it is J.K. Dobbins infectious positivity and smile and attitude about going about everything. You see that being a storyline going forward, especially on a running back position that's been kind of bastardized. To kind of have someone win that award. I do know that it's been primarily a quarterback award the last 6-7 years. I just think the narrative's a little too enticing to pass up for J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, this one's catching me really off guard right now.
3 straight knee surgeries.
I love it. I actually fucking love it. And let me talk on this one. JK, you talk about Rodgers being on McAfee every week. Have you seen J.K. Dobbins on McAfee the last 2 weeks? Because he's been a weekly guest for the season. And he said on the show, I think yesterday or whatever, he's like, I'll come on every week. And they absolutely love his energy on the show. So he's also going to be part of the media storylines all season if he's like Rodgers on McAfee every single week. So maybe you pick up both of it's really hard to bet a number 1 and a number 2 at the same time in the same award. From a betting standpoint, I don't like doing that. But having a Rodgers and a Dobbins ticket is phenomenal. I actually think, Richie, looking at the odds right now, and I'll share this tab instead, Here is the odds screen for comeback player of the year. So you can see all of the books listed and what the current odds are. J.K. Dobbins is down to plus 400 at BetMGM, 450 at Caesars, 450 at DraftKings. And so when you look at the rest of the board and you say, okay, I could grab the difference between a plus 185 and a plus 150 on Aaron Rodgers, or I could take the difference between a plus 600 and a plus 450. I mean, ratio wise to their implied probability, they're pretty even, but the amount of multiplier you're getting on your bonus is certainly different. So maybe you want to pick off Dobbins now at the long shot and then see if you want to come back in on Rodgers in a week or two.
That sounds fair.
Okay. I am shocked that Dobbins is consensus number 2 in this award. Consensus.
I mean, to me, it's what's more impressive to come back from 3 straight years of knee surgery or, Rodgers, who doesn't even need to run that much. I just think the narrative for Dobbins is a lot higher, but it's also Aaron Rodgers in New York on a great team. So I guess it kind of depends how that shakes out.
Rich, we got a question from the live audience right now. Adam asks, question for you both to answer. What % chance do you give the Cardinals to make the playoffs this year? Now, I was just talking about how I'm fading the Cardinals, not necessarily fading the Cardinals, but don't want to pick up a long shot future on them because I'm concerned about the health of a smaller mobile quarterback down the stretch. Of course, we see Kyler plus 850 in that comeback player of the year. Can I ask you quickly before we get to Adam's question? Kyler shouldn't be involved in comeback player of the year because he finished last season healthy.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
And they literally changed the award, and Florio wrote about it and had the guy from the Associated Press make a statement with the quote in it that's like, we've changed the criteria after the DeMar Hamlin, Joe Flacco fallout situation. Tinfoil hat. Rich, I'm 99% sure, conspiracy, that DeMar Hamlin did not want the award. I think he told the NFL, no thanks, guys. I don't want to relive this again at the NFL awards. Just give it to Flacco, right? Like he had done so many different media things, so many different awards, so many different stages. And every time he went up there, DeMar Hamlin would he's not comfortable in those situations. So he would literally start crying on stage. He would he wouldn't be able to finish some of his speeches before walking off. Those moments were tough for him. I just think he was done with it. I think he was just I don't want the fucking award. Just give it to someone else.
That makes sense. I think he just wanted to, kind of move on and focus on football.
Yeah.
Now he's starting for the Bills, which is interesting.
Awesome. Now, honestly, I wonder if he should be a candidate this year because what I was just saying is they've changed the criteria where it's a return to play. So previously it was a return to just being an active player, and it was comeback player of the year was in the details of how incredible the comeback was, not how successful the comeback was once it was on the field. There were very specific voting guidelines that said it was about the comeback, not performance of play. They have changed it this year to make sure that it's about a comeback to a stellar performance on the field. They've added in that caveat as black and white as it gets. So when Kyler has come back at the end of last season, I don't think he qualifies, especially because the rule says from the previous season. It makes no sense.
I agree. Okay. Well, we have straight off this question. No, I agree with you, but what's your percentage? What would I'd probably put it at
49ers in the division, Seahawks in the division. The Rams are too injured where you're going to say the Rams cluster injuries probably fucks them over.
I'd be shocked if the 49ers didn't win that division, even with their injuries.
Cardinals took steam in the preseason market, but their win total went from 5.5 to 6.5. I'm going to go Cardinals 7-9, miss the playoffs.
Yeah, I'd say
40% chance to make 35% chance to make the playoffs.
7-9, and I'm probably around 40%. No, 30%.
Yeah. Adam, there are ways to do it. You could go look up Cardinals odds to make the playoffs. You put that into an implied probability formula, and you can get a better answer than me and Rich can give you because the people who are actually pricing those as odds are smarter. And then you could, what you call in gambling, devig something. So when you know what the hold is in a specific market, there are formulas you can use to understand what true odds are versus what the odds you are paying for. So sometimes when true odds at a book is with the actual percent chance to hit, implied probability is your hit rate needed to break even. And because sports books are a business, they bake in that tax. which is why as bettors, so much of what we need to do is get a better number than by the time the award or the game or whatever tips off, because now we've recouped that edge of paying the tax in terms of gaining outcomes that generate more wins than what the sportsbook line currently offers. So if it offers a -6.5 and you have a -4.5, 5 and 6 are now winning numbers for you when they're not for people betting into those markets now. And if you're paying -110 for both of it and you're paying into a 5% hold or a 2.38%, 52.38% implied probability, it's getting very math heavy. Rewind 30 seconds if you need to. Then what you're doing is saying, okay, if 5 has a 5% chance of hitting, if 6 has a 5% chance of hitting, then I have a 60% chance to win this bet on paying 52.38. Take the difference. I have a 7.5 positive expected value percentage on this wager. So that's how you could use some of the books, devigging formulas, and get a much better answered question than me and Richie just going 30 to 40%.
Yeah, fair. Very
right.
fair. Yeah.
We got another one from Viggy. If the Falcons win their division, do you think Kirk has a better chance to win comeback player of the year? Yes. I would say a lot of that, Viggy, becomes dependent on, do the Jets win their division, right? Jets are in a harder division. I would say, obviously, the Tua injury changes things a little bit, and how well the Saints have played changes things a little bit, and how well Baker Mayfield's played has changes things a little bit. So we were saying the NFC North is the Falcons division was the worst, the NFC South, right?
South.
NFC South is the worst division in the NFL coming this year. We might be changing that. We were also saying how strong the AFC East was. So Viggy, I think you're asking the right question in saying, well, let me just compare odds between division winner on a team and just the award that corresponds, right? Like, should me and Richie play Minnesota Vikings to win their division on an 8-1 long shot, or Brian Flores to be defensive coordinator of the year at 11-1, right? Because what the process here is, if the Minnesota Vikings do win their division, a large part of that comes from how successful Flores' season has been. So take the 25% boosted odd on a very correlated bet. So I think you're asking the right question specific to that one, Viggy. I think it really depends on both teams and their ability to win their division. Rich, we have 2 more topics before we get out of here. Thank you for a great first appearance on the show so far.
Appreciate it.
Coach of the year is a topic that I want to talk about. We've spent a good bit of time on assistant coach of the year, but I want to talk about coach of the year now, because Canales was like the hottest name on the ticket, the favorite at every book, the shortest odds.
Books.
You bet Canales. I talked about this. Actually, I did it office hours for the people who pay for the premium picks package, and I make myself available for them to come ask questions all the time. And so last week I held an office hours, and someone comes in and asks me about futures, bankroll management, and all these things. And I say, there's one thing that's important when you're trying to know where your bankroll is, but you also bet futures. If you have a future that's fucking toast, this shit is burnt bread, it is dead, then it's technically still in your pending wagers and technically still reflected in your account balance. However, that shit's not winning, and that's money's lost. So you need to know, you need to track your bets on another platform outside of that, so you can mark that as a loss already and know that when you're calculating what is 1.2% of my total bankroll to formulate 1 unit, then that, even though it's technically in your account, it's not, because that's dead. On the flip side of that, if you have a great ticket, if you have 10-1 Clint Kubiak, you're not baking in the value you've gained, or you're not counting that as a win. You wait for the wins to hit, but you could cross off your losses early, and that will save you from being overexposed. But that brings us to understanding this point. Dave Canales tickets are dead. He is not winning coach of the year. Let's see. Shane Steichen was another hot name. He is probably, they're calling him Suck Stinkin'. They're saying they're going to fire Gus Bradley. The other one was your boy Antonio Pierce, Rich, from my Giants to your Raiders. And in week 1, he has the most dumb fucking punt in the world.
God, that was horrible.
Boneheaded coaching decision that might have cost his team the game. So, in all honesty, I think Pierce, done. I think Suck Stinkin', done. I think, Canales, done. And those were 3 of the hottest names coming into the season for NFL Coach of the Year. So now I want to say, we need to talk about Harbaugh. We need to talk about, honestly, we need to fucking talk about, is Mike Tomlin going to finally win this award? Even if he goes 9-8 again, but it's Justin Fields and the worst schedule ever. Do we need to talk about Mike Tomlin winning Coach of the Year? Do we need to talk about McDonald with the Seahawks as he fits that mold of first-year coach taking over a new team, and the Seahawks are 2-0 too? And I said they play against Skylar Thompson this weekend. I think the Seahawks might even get the Packers in a few weeks when we aren't sure if Jordan Love is going to come back. We'll get back to that in a little bit. But so the Seahawks schedule is setting up really nice. Are there any of these coaches, as I bring up the awards, and I'm doing it right now, are there any of these coaches that you think are worth picking off for NFL Coach of the Year, Rich?
Yeah, a couple. One, you mentioned Tomlin, which he's never won Coach of the Year before.
I have to look it up, but I know Spoelstra has.
I did. That's an absolute crime that he has not won Coach of the Year in his career.
I say, let me cut you off. I say the same thing every fucking year before the NBA starts. I say, should we just bet Spoelstra because it's normally 20-1, and he's never won the award. And I think by the end of his career, he's going to win the award. So if Spoelstra coaches for 15 years, and I bet it every year at 20-1, I will win money if he wins it one time. I feel the same fucking way for Tomlin.
It's insane that he hasn't won, especially given the quarterbacks that he has. Like, if there's anyone that's maximizing their roster year in and year out, it's Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
I don't know if that narrative is going to stick or if, it's going to be brought up to a larger scale media, but I mean, my God, throw the guy a bone. How has he not won a Coach of the Year? That's incredible. Some other guys I had, Matt LaFleur.
I have that ticket from before the season. I think that's a great one.
If he's able to, hold things together with Malik Willis, who I know he played pretty well. He's not a good quarterback. If he's able to hold things together for long enough for Jordan Love to come back, that's a very good football team, and he's a good coach. So I think at 15-1 odds, plus 1,500, I think it's good to throw some money on that.
Yeah, so you can get LaFleur 16-1 on FanDuel. I'll look up best odds in a second. That one definitely stuck out to me. The other ones that stuck out to me were this just Harbaugh, Tomlin, McDonald. And honestly, Rich, with it being at the shortest odds candidate is still 6.5-1, right? There's still you're still getting a good bang for your buck by picking off one of these coaches. It's at the point where you could literally bet every single one that we have listed and make all 4 of these. You can take them in a package, in a portfolio, and play all of them and still be plus money if any of them win. Now, again, I don't recommend doing that with awards. I wouldn't bet a lot at the same time in the same place where only one of them can win. Try and get one now. Let's break down some schedules and we'll do that. And then when you get movement, maybe you come back in on another number somewhere else, right? So you're beating the market in multiple directions and you're setting yourself up with positive hedging instead of this would be negative EV indirectly hedging. Harbaugh and the Chargers go against Tomlin and the Steelers. Harbaugh and the Chargers are getting a lot of love in the game-to-game market for this game because they stayed on the East Coast after taking care of the Carolina Panthers. So they're not going back to LA and then coming back across the country again. So I expect the Chargers to play well. Tomlin is the favorite in that game. Like I said, Mike McDonald is really changing the way the Seahawks play in terms of the amount of pace and how many plays they're running. And he's very defensive too. So their defense is starting to look good. That's one I really want to pick off right now, considering they're going against Skylar Thompson this weekend as well. And then the LaFleur. I already have LaFleur from preseason. I think at pretty similar number to 16-1. I'll look it up. But yeah, I think Mike McDonald would be, if I were going to bet one of them now, that would be my choice.
That's fair. So you were high on Flores. What are your thoughts on O'Connell if he wins that division for the Vikings?
Right. I think it's interesting too.
What?
I think it's interesting too. You ask the right question on it.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't say that'd be my number one, but I think this award's tough because there's like 4 to 5 guys I would be zero surprised that if they win the award. LaFleur, O'Connell, McDonald, Tomlin, Harbaugh, those are all guys that could win the award. I know Harbaugh probably has the highest odds right now, but that's a tough division. I'm not going to, as a Raider fan, I can acknowledge that's a tough division to win, especially with the Chiefs. I guess if they're competitive enough, there's a chance. But I would probably say
that's essentially why I would want to fade Harbaugh right now.
Yeah.
And Tomlin, like the Steelers schedule gets brutal at the back half of the year. Like it was a weird anomaly with the Steelers schedule this year where when the look ahead numbers came out, the Steelers took action for weeks 1, 2, and 3 immediately. Like Sharps picked up Steelers in weeks 1, 2, and 3 right away, and they're under on their season win total. Now, why would they do that? And first, I don't think it's the smartest thing. I would have waited if you're going to play them game to game, then play them for the first 3 weeks and then pick up, hopefully they're 2-1 or 3-0, which they're on pace to be. And then you pick up a better number on the season win total. You might not get it because the market is so aware that there's so much sentiment to fade the Steelers late in the season. So I think you need this award. You need to stay hot throughout. It can't just be a good start. McDonald's is the one I'm going to pick up now, if any. I think that makes a lot of sense.
No, yeah,
I
respect that.
Last topic, Rich. You told me you had one season leader that you really liked. I just put in last topic, other long shots or general best bets. You have one for receiver leader. I have a week 4 look ahead spot that I think is worth a max bet. I already bet to my limit on it, and I would like to give that out as well. So kick us off.
So
leader?
If you could head to that.
This is an example of Richie being the degenerate gambler talking about a season leader bet that he loves. And then I'm going to follow it up with, we're coming full circle. And in order to actually maximize a bankroll, go slam this look ahead number for week 4 in the game to game market, because Richie's might be very fun and might win and might win us a lot of money. But in terms of growing a bankroll, we're going to do the latter and slam a game line. Rich, who is the season leader that you love? You fucking love Stroud passing yards, don't you?
I'm extremely high on Stroud. I probably won't bet that, but yeah, you know what I think about Stroud. In terms of receiving leader, now that Tyreek Hill's out of the picture, I still think Justin Jefferson's priced way too high with Sam Darnold. I'm sorry, I'm not bought in.
And he just got kind of banged up.
Yeah, exactly. How is CeeDee Lamb not like a sure thing for this award? He faces
this is really interesting, Rich. This is a really good one.
Twice, the Commanders twice, and the Eagles twice. They're all bad secondaries that he's going to eviscerate. This is just, I don't see how things change that much from last year, in which he dominated on the second half of the year. I see that as now that Tyreek Hill's out of the picture, for the most part. I know he's QB proof, but it's going to be tough. If he wins that award, if him or Jefferson win the award with Skylar Thompson and Sam Darnold throwing them the ball, hats off. I'll take the loss. I guess Nico Collins scares me a little bit, but there's a lot of mouths to feed on that Texas team. So I think it'd be a little tough for him to win that. I just unless someone else comes, Jamar Chase, he started off pretty slow. Who else do you see as someone that's threatening him to win that award?
With Amon-Ra, you have to talk about how strong Jameson Williams is coming on. Jamar Chase is getting T. Higgins back in the next week or two. Tyreek Hill is dealing with Skylar Thompson for the next few weeks. Nico Collins is off to a great start, but has Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs led the league in targets last year and is in a contract year. Justin Jefferson, sure, he's going to get a lot of volume, but he's also on a team that might start to slow down in the back half of the year. And then you get into your Rashee Rice, your Malik Neighbor, like Godwin. Like, this is crazy to me, Rich. I genuinely like the CD plug here. And I'm going to do one better.
Not so degenerate now, huh, Fid?
Look at this.
So I bet it last night. What is the odds on it now at DraftKings? I think I got it at 4.
I just pulled it up at Bet Rivers where it is plus 600.
Oh, it's plus 600? Oh, wow. So it's a lot different than
DraftKings.
Well, whoops.
I think DraftKings, I think, has a plus 500 at DraftKings now.
Plus 500.
So 6-1 at Bet Rivers is very interesting, and I also think it's indicative that he's the odds-on favorite too. So you're getting better odds. Which means that this market on Bet Rivers right now, if the highest candidate, if the favorite, the shortest odds, still has longer odds than all of the other books, then the chances that this market has the least hold, which means it is the most efficient for us as bettors to bet into. So not only do we get the best price, we also get the most beatable of these markets in general. Or if you do win, you are going to take back the biggest cut because the house rake is the least in this situation. Rich, I like that. That's actually pretty good.
Nice.
All right, I'm going to show you mine. Share this tab instead. Richie, I am all in on Jordan Love playing next week, but not this week. Jordan Love back at practice today.
Really?
Back at practice today in a limited fashion. You have Adam Schefter reporting. Moment of silence for Woj's retirement.
Moment of silence.
You have Schefter reporting that week 4 or 5 was always the target date for Jordan Love. Now you have him practicing in a limited capacity. I think that is nothing but a fugazi as this team heads to Tennessee to take on Malik Willis's former team in the Titans this week. The Green Bay Packers are back at home week 4 in a divisional game against the Vikings, who have been off to a good start. This is going to be an important one for the Packers. I think Jordan Love comes back in this game. I think there are already signals in the market that this line moves to 3.5. And obtaining the 2.5 on a line that moves to 3.5 simply by the quarterback coming back into play is massive value to then play Vikings plus 3.5 a week from now. So this was a spot where I put down a max bet on the Packers minus 2.5. I also put down a unit on the over 42.5 because I think if Love comes back, 43 is a key number, 44 is a key number. So does that line suddenly move to 44.5? Because is Jordan Love worth 2 points on a total more than Malik Willis? Yes. Yes, he is. So I think this could go to 44.5. I think that the game spread goes to 3.5. And I think those both end up with massive playback value hovering around 2 key numbers. Richie, Fiddle loves Packers minus 2.5. I say Virgo loves Packers minus 2.5 over 42.5.
I like that. I like that. Good logic and with that. There's no disagreements on that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good one to grab. And for anyone who's been noticing why I have some of these other unders on my tickets when we go to FanDuel, and there's all these unders right there. Sneak preview. Those are my bets this week. Now, I might not have those numbers, but if one of those sides was highlighted, I have actively bet it. And I keep those in my slip just to always be aware of the line movement of my positions at different sports books. Rich, I think that'll wrap us up for today. First appearance, but I don't think last appearance.
No, I hope not. I had a lot of fun, Fid.
Fuck. Do you just see the text message that both of us got?
Oh, God.
Hold on. Can you hold your phone up to the video and play it for us? Can you play it to the screen, please?
Oh.
So to bring the listeners behind the curtain, wait before you do it. We have a rule in our fantasy football league. This is the fucking best way to end because I haven't watched the video yet either. We have a rule in our fantasy football league where if you come dead last for the week, you have to chug a beer and send it to the group text. This week, your biggest loser in the league was Gibby. So the pod audience is very familiar with Gibbs, and Gibbs literally 2 seconds ago sends in a video of himself. First of all, he looks hilarious in the pre-image shot. So let's let all of the Advantage audience enjoy Gibby's.
All right, you ready?
Such a fucking loser that he has to chug a beer.
All right, I'm gonna play it.
First place to 8th place in 1 week. That's quite a drop. Not the week that HMD was looking for. So here's my punishment. I'm in Vegas for work right now, so all they had were tall boys. So I poured myself a couple of glasses of beer here, or cups of beer. But in the spirit of week one that we had, I wanted to make sure.
Over under is at like 5.5 seconds for this slow drinker.
So, over. I'll take the over.
Oh, he better take down like 4 of these cups. Let's go, Gib.
All right, this is great. This is great.
Unbelievable.
I hope he comes in last a lot more often.
Do another one, Gib. Do another one. No, 2?
All right, you know what? I respect it. That was a good last place.
That was a great way to end the show. Rich, we will be back in 2 weeks, checking in on these storylines, looking at other odds on the board and seeing how we want to talk about them and seeing if there are any active bets to place. For now, I would place CeeDee Lamb receiving yards leader 6-1. I actually think based on the rest of the market, it's a tough award and stat to bet into, but the value is genuinely there, and Richie lays out a good case. I have already max bet Packers -2.5. I have a good size bet on the over 42.5. You can look into like Flores, assistant coach of the year, coordinator of the year, anything else that you liked. Consider taking those bets if you like them. Of course, we will be back talking WNBA with Drew Johnson as we got the playoffs starting coming up here. So stay tuned on The Advantage. You will talk to me soon. Peace out. And before we leave, a message as usual from our guy, Patrick Beverly.
Y'all subscribe to my podcast while y'all asking all these questions. Don't forget to subscribe to the pod. And if you're a kid, listen to your parents. Listen to your parents.
Listen to your parents.
Subscribe to the pod. Subscribe.
Subscribe to the pod.